Hello, everybody. Mr. Rubo here. So today we're gonna first start with looking at the homework, which hopefully you did. I have it here, really poorly written, but had to do it kind of quick. Um, so we have what you should have done is figured out, what the cosine of each angle was of the given angles over here on the side, and then substituted them in and given both the exact and the decimal approximation. So that's what I've done. I've done part of it. So I have the decimal approximation. The reason why is because the first part of today is actually graphing these points. So these are all coordinate points. They're just in polar. So it's r comma theta. So 6, 0. Then 5.12 comma pi fourths, 3 comma pi halves, so on and so forth. And so that's what we have here. So we have all of these polar points. So let's plot them because that will make this graph. So the first one is at 0 degrees or 0 radians. We are at 6. So I go down to my graph down here that said save for later. Well, it's later now. I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the 0 radian section. Then the next one is pi fourths is the angle. So pi fourths is the middle line, and I'm going about just over 5 circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and just a little bit farther. And then I continue on at pi halves. I'm up at 3. So 1, 2, 3. And then 3 pi fourths is 0.88. So I'm not even a full circle away, like that. Then at pi, I'm actually 0, which means I'm at the pole. And then it mirrors it down below. So we have this lovely symmetry here. So 0.88 for 5 pi fourths. Then we're at 3. 1, 2, 3. And then at 7 pi fourths, we're just at over 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just a little bit more. So hopefully we can plot these points. And the thing that's kind of new, if you will, like you guys know how to plot points, but it's how to connect these. So with polar, you usually connect in a curve as well as you can. And so this is what is called a cardioid. Okay. And you'll do a little bit more exploration with these guys. Oops. I missed the coordinate point over here. So make sure you go through all of your points, but kind of looks like a heart. Okay. So that is the first one. And then you're going to do the exact same thing with this one, but you'll notice this one's not exactly the same equation, right? So it's 3 plus 2 sine of theta. So it's sine versus cosine, but it's a different number. So we're going to see how that affects it here. So it's at 0 degrees or 0 radians. We are at 3. So 1, 2, 3. Then pi fourths, we're just a little bit more than 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and we estimate those ones, right? Pi halves, we're up at 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then same thing on the other side. So 3 pi fourths, just a little bit more than 4 circles. At pi, we're at 3. 1, 2, 3. So lots of symmetry here. 3 pi halves, we're down at 1. Oops, I skipped one. Sorry, 1.59 for 5 pi fourths. So it's usually helpful if you go in order because then you can kind of see how you're going to connect it, because then at 2 pi, you're back to where we started. So this guy, if we connect it from where we started in order, again, a somewhat nice curve. This is a limacon. It's funny. It's got the little thing under there. Yeah, it's a weird word. But kind of looks like a lima bean. Okay, it's got like this little hump here. And that's also what you guys are going to be exploring today. So the next couple pages are stuff you guys are going to do on your own. And this is what's called a notice and wonder. So I give you a bunch of equations, and you can see there's 4 graphs here, 4 equations that you're going to graph. You're going to say things you notice, say things you wonder. And then there's 4 more graphs on the other side, or on the next page, that you're going to do the exact same thing with. And you are using your calculator or Desmos to graph these. So that is what I'm going to start with, is our calculator. So a couple things for putting polar equations in the calculator. Oops. So to put polars in, you have to do a couple things. So first, you hit mode. Okay, if you're using a calculator. If you're using Desmos, I'll show you how to do that in a second. So mode, and first thing you want to make sure is you are on radian mode, because we'll be graphing and you want to make sure you're doing it in radians, otherwise your graphs are going to be huge. Then the next thing is the line right below it. Yours will be highlighted function, because we've been dealing with function notation. Well, now we want to switch it to polar. So the very third option, I think some calculators might say POL, but it's almost always the third option. So you do want to switch it to polar. So you just highlight it, and now what that does is it changes your y equals. When you go to graph, it changes it. No longer are they y1, y2, y3, y4. It's r1. And not only does it change that, but also the button that we use for x, the button right next to alpha, now if you hit it, it actually puts in a theta. So what you're going to do is you're going to hit, like, you'll type in the equation, so 5 plus 5 cosine of theta. And don't mind that circle. That's a misprint. I don't exactly know what happened there. And then you're going to hit zoom 6. And then what I would actually do is after hit zoom 6, I would then hit zoom square, so zoom 5, just to make it look a little nicer. But you can kind of see this is actually the shape, or very similar to the shape we just did on the previous page. But I want you to look at, especially like count the tick marks, see if you notice any patterns, especially with the numbers. Okay, so that's what I want you to do. Draw a little sketch on here. Do that for these 4 graphs, then do it for these 4 graphs, and I'll kind of tell you they're kind of grouped together. So these first 4 are all the same type of graph. I'll tell you they are cardioids. And then the second 4 are limacones. Okay. And then once you kind of have all those together, I want you to go to this page, page 18, and fill out these. So you can kind of see the different formats. They're all a plus a cosine theta, a minus a cosine theta, a plus a sine of theta, a minus a sine of theta, your a value from each graph. And these, when they say graph 1, graph 2, that's from the previous 2 pages. Okay. And so then I want you to try to fill this out as well. Do your best. And again, this is more of an exploration for you. And then when you finish, you then can go on to the homework, which is pages 19 and 20. And again, use your calculator by graphing these to help you out. Okay. So the key will be posted, especially for this summary. You'll see it on Canvas, but yeah. And then I guess if you don't have your calculator, I guess I also don't want to skip this part. Let me go to Desmos. So give me 2 seconds. Okay, yeah, don't mind that. So let me go on to Desmos. And so for Desmos, there's a couple things we want to do. You want to hit this wrench, okay? And then you don't have to do this, but I think it's nice, is you can hit next to grid, you can hit the one that looks like a little polar graph. And now it looks like polar. Okay. And then as far as typing it in, you type in r equals, and then like the first one was 5 plus 5 cosine, and then theta, you could type in theta, which is theta, or you could find it in the keyboard. But as long as you have the r equals, you'll see the graph. And again, you're kind of paying attention to the numbers, so you might want to change. Ooh, they won't let you change it. That's interesting. Just keep in mind, like, you're trying to find some important things, again, looking at the numbers, but this is how you graph it on Desmos, is you literally just type in r and theta as you would on a keyboard, right? But then again, it doesn't matter with the grid, it'll graph it either way, but the polar grid is a little nicer because they're polar graphs. Okay. So yeah, again, you'll graph the 8 graphs. Say what you notice, say what you wonder. So that's, there's not really a key for those. That's kind of what you yourself notice. Fill out this table based on what you saw, and then go ahead and work on the homework. All right. So thanks for watching and have a good day.